What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler. Joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Kuhn. Gabe, what's up, brother? How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Very uneventful weekends these days. I can say
Yep,
that.
where you're
I
at.
haven't had I didn't have a drink of anything. I didn't have a beer or a drink with liquor in it all week, man. It's interesting. We got
Getting
the
ready for
kid
dad life.
almost here, whole thing. I got to get used to it. You know what I mean? I got to be on my P's and Q's. Taylor's about to be induced or, headed to the hospital here the next couple of weeks. So it's been a non-eventful, eventful time around
You're
my house.
locked in.
What about you? What
Is
have you been
what's
up
going on? What'd you say? Sorry.
to? What you been up to? What'd you do this weekend?
Oh, what did I have going on this weekend? Friday night, just went out to dinner with Anna Ruth and my sister, my brother-in-law, and my nephew. We went and ate, and then Saturday we celebrated Anna Ruth's dad's birthday at Jim's place, and then
Love me some Jim's place.
that's fire. And then after that, we went and watched the fights. So that was about it for this
Oh
weekend.
yeah, the fights. Can't wait to bring in Kenny Stubbs to talk about these fights.
We will most certainly do that. But to tell you, if you guys remember the last couple of weeks, I have not been doing the best as far as health goes. I've been a little under the weather. I'm back tonight, 100%. I finally feel 100% as of like Friday.
You sound normal. Like you didn't sound like yourself the past 2 weeks.
No, I have not been right. I don't know what it was, but I was battling something. But I am. I feel like I'm fully back right now.
A couple of weekends ago, I called you, and you answered the phone, and I thought it was somebody else answering the phone. I thought it was like your dad or somebody. Like I was like, who the hell just picked up Christian's phone for him? I was about to be like, is Christian there? Is he there? But yeah, you sound good.
Bro.
You sound good tonight.
Yeah,
you sound good.
I got my energy back. That was the thing. It was the fatigue and energy was at zero, but it's back to 100%. So I can bring a little bit more tonight. Funny note before we jump into it. We obviously, if you listen to us, we record on Monday nights. So my beloved but awful Cowboys are playing the Texans right now. And as just go behind the curtain a little bit, we do a little 2-minute intro that you see. We actually sit through that. So I turned the Cowboys Texans game on while we were in our little bumper intro, and first play of the game, 77-yard touchdown to Nico Collins. It was called back, but that just that tells you how this night's gonna go.
Yeah,
And
dude, I don't even know why you watch them anymore. What's the point?
I want to lose. I mean, I want draft picks. At
No,
this
like
point.
seriously, if you're a Cowboys fan, like what's the point? I mean, you're gonna get a middling draft pick. Well, you could maybe sneak into the top 10 with how bad they are down the stretch of the season because Dak's out for the year. But
oh, there goes Joe Mixon for 60. So yeah.
Touchdown.
Yes, correct.
Yes, but man, I don't know. If I was a Cowboys fan, I wouldn't watch another game the rest of the year.
I mean, me and my dad were talking about this because obviously he is the reason I'm a Cowboys fan, and he apologizes quite often for that. But I was like, it's kind of nice, which we've had a couple of these years throughout my life where a quarterback gets hurt, and even if Dak was playing, we obviously weren't playing well. But we've had years like Romo had the couple years where he missed the majority of the season. Dak's had a couple years now where he's missed the majority of the season. And it's kind of nice. Like, it's not nearly as stressful. It's not nearly as anxiety filled. You can just kind of sit back.
This is the biggest loser attitude I've ever heard in my life.
What do you mean?
This is loser attitude.
How?
It's not as stressful because we don't have the stress to win games. It doesn't matter if we win games or lose games when Cooper Rush is in there.
How is that not true?
That's a loser attitude. You got to revel in the moments where y'all are up and in the playoffs, brother.
No, I don't want to win. Why would I want to win right now? We're 3-6 with no quarterback.
That's wild.
I want to lose
Loser attitude.
Hey.
Damn, defeatist attitude.
It's just
all the pressure's off because we don't need to win games anymore. That's crazy.
It's real.
You're too stressed when they're winning. Damn, that's tough.
No, I'm not saying I prefer this. Just for the record, I don't prefer this. I'm just saying every once in a while, it's nice to have a little break where it's not like, okay, I don't have to sweat out every game. I don't have to worry about playoff seeding. Only thing I got to worry about is how many games we lose and how high we go in the draft. and that's kind of nice.
All right, all right. I still think that's a little bit of a loser mentality, but
Maybe
hey,
it is.
you're a long suffering Cowboys fan. I'll give you a pass for that. I understand.
Exactly.
I understand to a certain extent, but it is by definition a loser mentality.
And that's fine. It's just realistic. I mean, why would I be rooting for us to beat the Texans with Cooper Rush at quarterback for the remainder of the season? Makes no sense. But anyway, switching from a loser mentality to a much more winning mentality, let's talk about the Memphis men's basketball team. They are 3-0 now after defeating Ohio. And Gabe, obviously, I don't think us sitting here breaking down a Friday night win over Ohio is going to do much good or be very productive. So I know there's a lot obviously on the horizon for this team. Only 3 games in, so the entire season pretty much left. Maui's coming up where Memphis will open up against UConn, which will be that whole tournament will be a great litmus test for them and where they stand. But before they get to that point, I want to talk about what the ceiling is with this team. In a vacuum, 3 games in, Ohio, Missouri, and UNLV, how high is the ceiling for this team? If they continue to grow, mature, become better and better every night, how good can this team be this season?
Certainly AAC regular season title and tournament. We'll see what the matchup is by the time they get to the tournament and where their seating is going to be. But like I mean, it depends on how they manage this out of conference schedule. I expect them to roll through conference. This Ohio game gives me a lot of hope that they can take care of business pretty easily against a lot of the competition they'll have in conference because a lot of it is similar. And just a quick stat about the conference. This was going into Sunday night. Outside of Memphis, the rest of the AAC against top 150 teams via KenPom is 3-11 with only one top 100 win. Memphis is 2-0 against those top 150 teams, and they're 2-0 in the top 100 games. So they're holding up the rest of the conference. The rest of the conference stinks, and I think that gives me a lot of hope for when they actually see the rest of the conference. But I think AAC regular season title is absolutely on the table. I think tournament, we'll see what their matchup looks like, how high of a seed they can get, but I think they could win a game in the tournament potentially. We're way off from that. But what I got to be honest with you, dude, like here's my truth. I really like this team. Yeah. I really like this team. And if I'm putting it into words, it's the defensive effort. And then also like their ability on the offensive end to have a lot of guys handle the ball, set up offense, PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, Barako Koji, and they keep the assists up and the turnovers down. Like in that Ohio game, 19 assists, 14 turnovers. They had 13 steals when they played against Ohio. I want to see them like press a little bit more in the first half, get some, build a nice lead after some first halves here and play a full game. But I like this team. I really do. They're bought in. Is it the most fun style of basketball? Absolutely not. But is it winning basketball? 100% yes. Like
which I would argue is the most fun style of basketball.
Yes, 100%. But I also see a bench unit who's not going to cause a whole bunch of drama. At least that's what it looks like right now. Like guys just come in, do what they're asked to. Barako Koji comes in and plays defense, really good defense, sets up the offense. PJ Carter, when you ask him to, he'll come off the bench and hit a 3. Musa Cisse comes in, really good defense. He's actually been good offensively around the rim too. So like it just feels like this team is more together than they have been, especially namely last year compared to last year. And it's just more fun to watch. You are able to attach yourself more to the guys on this team. PJ Haggerty, big name. Tyrese Hunter had a really good game against Ohio. I like this team a lot. I got to be honest.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think as far as like what is the ceiling, I think they can be one of those really scary mid to back in tournament teams wherever the seeding falls that no one really wants to see. That everyone's kind of worried about because they play defense very aggressively, very well as a unit, and they have a superstar. And if you get into the tournament, a superstar can take you extremely far. So I think that's it. I'm not going to say a specific, like we've said things before in the past, like they're a Sweet 16 level team. I don't want to go that far. We're so early, but I do think that they could be a very scary tournament team that no one wants to get that matchup, especially
Sure.
in the first round. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, like I just mentioned. But I mean, you couldn't ask to be sitting much better this early in the season than they are. And we know it's early, so we're not getting ahead of ourselves. These things can and likely will change either for the better or for the worse relatively quickly because that's just how stuff happens in this sport. But you just watch this team and watch, like you talked about, the buy-in. I think that's something that we've seen in spurts under Penny Hardaway, but we've never seen a full season of it. So what happens if we do see a full season of buy-in and guys understanding their roles and guys, staying engaged and locked in on the bench and pushing each other in practice, just in a sense of competition and wanting to make each other better. And there's not, these big egos hanging over the program, and you just have guys that want to go out there and win and not guys that are necessarily out there for the stats or for the headlines or for any of the wrong reasons, but guys that just want to go out there and win games. And just by what we've seen so far, what we heard in the offseason, that just feels like what this team is. It's just a bunch of solid players. Yes, PJ Haggerty is the superstar, but he's not like this super well-developed name that everybody in college basketball knows. That could change by the end of the year, but at this point, he freshman season at Tulsa, like no one's writing home about PJ Haggerty and how he's transcending basketball and is like the superstar of all of college basketball. This is someone who's, very early in their career and played at a small school last year and didn't make a bunch of national headlines because of where he played. So if that's your superstar, I think the rest kind of fall in line. And I think that's the difference between going out and getting, these high level, either 5-star, former 5 stars, big name transfers, and just getting a bunch of guys that can get into a system, understand their role, do exactly what's asked of them, and just be good teammates.
Yep.
And that just feels like what Penny Hardaway and the staff have put together this season.
Yeah, and obviously we know injuries and foul trouble that could complicate things game to game, but we'll keep an eye on that. Like they still play a very high intensity style of basketball where they're up and down the floor, and they play a rotation of 5 guys, which I think I got to tip the cap to Penny Hardaway for, because he is stuck with this rotation. He wins and he loses with those 5 guys in the starting lineup: PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, Dane Danger, Nick Jourdain, and Colby Rogers. That's what he sticks to. And then he'll bring in Moussa Cisse as sort of the guy off the bench who gets the most minutes depending on how the game's going and what he wants out of his bigs. But I like this team a lot. I think we'll see a lot coming up, though. San Fran, that's a good basketball team. They're 4-0. They have 4 of their 5 starters are seniors. Their 1 freshman is their leading scorer. Their 1 freshman averages 19 points per game. And that will be Tyrone Riley the 4th. So I think they have a lot coming up that will really sort of show us where they're at this point in the season. Then, of course, after San Fran, you're gonna have to do a lot of travel, go to Maui, deal with UConn, see if you can advance in that tournament. But this team's well on their way. When we look at their metrics, man, look good. They look good. Yeah. Ken Pom, they're sitting there at 38. Bart Torvik, 32. Even when they got to the AP top 10 last year, they weren't nearly this highly ranked according to those predictive metrics. And to see those predictive metrics favoring them is an absolute good thing at this point. And here's the other metric that is hilarious right now and that's favoring them. Their 3-point shooting, brother. 13 for 18 in that game against Ohio from 3. PJ Haggerty was 4 for 5. Tyrese Hunter 4 for 5. Nick Jourdain had a couple. They were just unbelievably good from the 3-point line. They actually lead the country in 3-point percentage, 49.1% from 3. They don't take a bunch, but they've been making a lot.
Yeah, and that was probably the number one concern going into the season that we talked about a lot the two or 3 weeks leading up to it was can they find a way to be an effective, just a decent 3-point shooting team? Like, can they not just be atrocious at shooting threes? And 3 games in very early, but sitting at first. It's a great
Wait,
sign.
this
Is it
ain't
gonna
gonna
hold?
hold.
It ain't
But
gonna hold.
what it has shown us is they are capable
They're
from out
capable. And that and
Even
that
the
and that's
guys
what
like
matters.
PJ Haggerty, who we thought would never really shoot from out there, he's very capable if he gets on a nice little streak. He can get it going from the 3-point line. Tyrese Hunter, same way. So that is a very. I know that stat won't hold, and they're going to have some lulls here in upcoming games. It's a long season, but that's a good sign. The fact that they can do that, they can shoot at this type of torrid pace. So that has alleviated my concerns.
Yeah.
3-point line. I still think they're going to have bad games, but they still have guys who can game to game get that thing going and shoot the ball from outside.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So as basketball season opens up, we know that means football season is winding down. We've felt very repetitive in our analysis over the last month or so. And it's been tough really to talk about because it's hard not to copy paste. This week, Memphis did finally blow the doors off of somebody, 53-18 against UAB. Not a great team, but Memphis has played a lot of not great teams and not won in this fashion, not won in a dominant fashion. So the conversation is a little bit different. We don't have to go into that conversation this week and talk about how, here we go, repeating the cycle, rinse and repeat, boring, pulled it off, yada, yada, yada. We've said it literally like 8 times this year already. So there's no sense in going there. But Memphis is 9-2. Obviously on the outside looking in the American Athletic Conference championship, not on the table for this team after losing pivotal games. Going into Tulane as 2 touchdown underdogs, which has got to be difficult, especially you don't see many 9-2 teams as 2
touchdown in the hook, 14.5.
14.5. Yeah.
Damn.
So how do you feel? How should we feel at this point in the season? Memphis sitting at 9-2 with really no mathematical chance of AAC championship.
Can I first get to a couple positives? Seth Hennigan
played a ball game.
299 yards, 4 touchdowns. He broke into the record books even more, 100 touchdown passes. He is one of 3 players in college football active that has reached that mark. He's the only one of those 3 that's done it at the same school. And we talked about legacy with him, or he talked about legacy last week with Jonah Dillon. And he's a very realistic guy, and I think he's pretty thoughtful. But he talked about how not winning a championship could hurt his legacy going forward. And we've had that discussion too, where maybe the stats look a little more empty to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because he didn't break through and win a championship and get to a college football playoff. But I think his legacy is pretty well stated. I think going down the road, we will think of him as another great at the quarterback position here at the University of Memphis. And the fact that he stayed in a day and age where leaving could probably have made him more money, more notoriety, more fame.
Yeah.
I think that is what he should be remembered for. It would have been really easy for him to leave for a Texas school in the Big 12 and make more money and be in his home state and, be in the national picture a little bit more, but he stuck it out here because he believed in the place. So I'm just want to start there. Also, before we get into any of this conversation, I want to mention Ryan Silverfield continues to be very honest and open at his pressers. He said we didn't make it to a conference championship and I need to be better. Now, I will say I like the message. I want to stop hearing that message, though. You know what I mean? No one wants to hear that message anymore. Because the more you have to say it, the more people start to think it's just empty words and promises.
Right.
And I think that's where we're at this point in time. Now, how do I feel about 9-2? Okay. Not great.
Yeah.
Not even really good by any stretch of the imagination. Tulane has gotten to 3 straight AAC championships, probably with a little bit less in the way of resources. You should be on their level. You should exceed that level. They also went through a coaching switch and still were able to take advantage.
And a quarterback change.
And 9 wins in this conference or 10 wins. I don't really care what they end up with. It's just it's not that good. Your combined win percentage for the teams that you've beaten for your 9 wins is 295, meaning those teams have only won 29% of the games that they could have won. They've lost the rest. And I just don't know how to explain that away. You also look at this conference, the American. There's been 5 in-season firings. Biff Poggi got canned today. Stan Drayton, Tom Herman, that was all in a 24-hour period. And we can almost guarantee the team that you just beat 53-18, that's 2-8 at UAB, they're going to fire Trent Dilfer after this year. There'll be 6 in-season firings for coaches. That's in a conference like that, where you clearly have bad enough product to have 6 different coaches being fired and them looking for new leadership. You should be at the top of that conference, first or second every single year.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. And also watching Tulane, that Navy team that put up 56 points on you, they just beat them 35-0.
Yeah.
You should be on that level. And to not have shown up at an AAC championship since 2019, since the Cotton Bowl year, it's frustrating. I feel okay about 9-2, but I don't feel good by any stretch of the imagination. It should be better.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly wise, because we know that the ceiling can be higher. And with looking at Tulane, because I think that is a great place to look at and seeing what they've done over the last several years, especially this year, with coaching change, losing their, stalwart star quarterback, Michael Pratt, and still doing what they've done this year with a very different style. It's not been a pass heavy attack. It's been a lot of creativity offensively. It's been a lot of running the ball, getting guys the ball in space. They've adapted. Obviously new coaching staff, so things have changed. But just seeing what they've done in year one under new coach, new quarterback, new system, it just makes you think, man, like Memphis is so established. They have the same coaching staff. They have the same players, and Tulane still is able to go do what they've done so far this season.
Memphis was second in returning starters and returning production on both sides of the ball.
Right.
So, there's just not that much of an excuse for not getting into the American Athletic Conference Championship this year.
Yeah.
When you win that UTSA game, we're having a different conversation, but you lose to a very average, if not below average.
Yeah.
So I don't feel great. 9 wins, 10 wins is cool. It looks good on paper, but it doesn't excite the fans who keep leaving in droves. They're not showing up to the games.
Yeah.
So I think this is the first year, and obviously the stadium renovations have something to do with this, but I think they had enough capacity to at least reach this number. This is the first year since 2001 where a home game, you didn't have a single home game that reached 30,000 fans in the stands as far as attendance is concerned. You can act like the fan base is spoiled all you want, but in the end of the day, considering the resources, considering the checks that are being wrote, considering everything that was on the table this year, I think the fans deserve and need better. There's a lot of things that hinge off seasons like this. Getting to a new conference, getting donors involved, getting people excited, getting butts in the seats. A lot of things hinge off of results, and the results have not been good enough and are not good enough. And it's sad. You get off senior day, but there's always this backdrop of what could have been.
Yeah.
Or maybe what should have been.
Yeah. I think that's more fair, is what should have been. And it's well documented. I mean, we've hashed and rehashed what they, coulda, woulda, shoulda done. But I think you talking about optics versus reality is kind of what you were just going with there. I think it's a big thing. And 9-2 looks great. Like, all these things look great, and we understand. Like, yes, a 10-win season is solid. Regardless of who you play, winning 10 games, great. But in this conference with this level of competition, it's not about the games you won, it's about the
And
games
with who you have and the experience you have.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Not only about your roster, but it's about the teams that you lost to. Yeah. It's about the UTSA game, Navy game. Okay. Whatever. It's a solid team that's been really good for the majority of the season outside of getting waxed by Tulane. But it's just those moments when it's like, this is the pivotal moment of the season. And then you go laying it. That's the kind of stuff that just, I think gives you that feel of it's okay. Like, yes, 9-10 wins, solid bowl bid maybe, which we know bowl games are basically relevant now. But it's just the what could have happened in that game.
Yeah, here's the thing,
you just
dude.
Take care of business. It's not even that you had to go upset someone. It's just if you go take care of business and do what you're supposed to do.
Like, here's the thing, man. Like, I know how hard it is to win college football games. Like, I completely understand that. I lived it. And I like, part of me feels like a complete asshole.
Yes.
And down 9 or 10 wins. Like, I feel like a complete douchebag.
Yeah.
But in the end of the day, I'm just looking at the checklist items that you need as a program to be a champion.
Yeah.
And this program has it all. They have the talent, seemingly have the coaching staff. You have the facilities. You have a stadium that's being built. They're spending money on that. You have more than enough NIL, more than just about anybody else in the group of 5 in the entire country. And when you're not getting and winning those championships or getting to them even, you have to ask yourself, well, what more do we need to reach that level?
Right.
And I don't have an answer for that.
I think that's the difficult part, right?
You have everything you need to go win championships. Why aren't you?
Right.
That's therein lies the problem and the bad feeling in the pit of people's stomach, even though you've won 9 or 10 games.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just rely on a win total in this conference with this set of circumstances. You can't do it anymore. At one point you could at this program, no doubt. We've talked about it. Larry Porter era, everybody was begging to get to 7-6 wins.
Right.
And I know how much it's changed, where 9 wins doesn't really feed the beast, but you create expectations. Sometimes you become the prisoner of said expectations.
100%.
And that's a reality of coaching, and it's not going to change anytime soon. It just won't. That's how fans are.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of championships, Gabe, I think we can bring someone in who has the championship mindset of all championship mindsets, and that's one Kenny Stubblefield. I'm just going to give you a little peek. It's probably going to get a little heated tonight. Like, let's not lie. If you tuned in last week, it's going to get a little bit heated. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side with the Hot 3 and Kenny Stubblefield.
This is definitely a game in Silverfield teams of yesteryear that you would lose, right? Those close battle games that they would always find a way to lose. It does seem like we've turned that around. We don't do that too much anymore outside of UTSA, but they just kind of smacked us in the mouth. It wasn't like it was a game where we were sitting there flirting with them all game for the most part.
Is that a product of growth with the Silverfield team, or just playing in wars with bad teams that can't finish? Houston, you had Houston in the conference, SMU in the conference, you had UCF in the conference, and anytime you go close with those teams, they're good enough to where they can ultimately put you away. They're winning a lot of close games, but they're winning a lot of close games against teams that are probably not equipped to finish a team the way that the other teams that we would lose to are.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
You play with Jacob Ravier with Song with the Hustle and on the grease.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, we don't do no Jake hate on this side. That's my dog. I'll be on Twitter, bro. I don't know what I'll be on Twitter seeing everybody hating on Jake. That's my
You
dog.
ain't never seen me doing that, who?
You never
Okay,
seen
I'm
me?
just making sure. That's my dog, bro. I gotta get off the Grizz Twitter. I don't know why I see it all the time. But I saw like somebody say that he's played well when he's had opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Consistently.
Yeah.
Like for me, like when I saw Jake my rookie year, he played well when he was with the hustle. You know what I'm saying? Obviously it's a little different. But he can go. You know what I'm saying? Like he's always been able to go. He's just kind of had unfortunate situations where he got hurt, where he was sick, where he just random things that pop up that has kind of hindered him from playing. And on top of GG and Vince being really good. Now he's getting consistent run, which I said like the 11 man is strange, but it's helping him out. You know what I'm saying? It's helping Santi out. Like it's helping guys out. Pitt's playing well. You know what I mean? So it's like it's good for those guys. They get to do more. This new offense that they've been running has been good for guys to just make plays. You know what I mean?
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Where's Kenny?
Here I am.
There he is. There he is.
What up, man?
What up, man? Y'all doing all right? Hey, I'm waiting.
On.
I texted you guys earlier today,
You did.
and I said
Junk, may I add.
I'm waiting for the apology, and that will be the first topic of our Hot 3 tonight. The wheel kick heard around the world, UFC 309. John Jones defended his heavyweight championship against Stipe Miocic. Let's talk about this fight first, and then I want to get to the apology. All right, so here we go. What did you guys think, man? Like, how was it? Stipe being not very good, old, slow, or was it just John Jones the GOAT being John Jones the GOAT?
I think it was just John Jones. I mean, yes, Stipe is not the fighter that he was in his prime. And you heard a lot of people saying that he's slow and old. Man, he didn't look slow and old early in that fight. I think a lot of that was John stole his soul early in the fight. I mean, a guy like Stipe has always been known to be well-rounded, good on the feet, good on the ground and pound. And John just surgically tears him apart. First round, beautiful back trip takedown and pummels him with elbows for the better part of what 2 or 3 minutes, just landing elbows on him. So he picked him apart on the feet. He took him down and beat him up. It was surgical. There was nowhere that he was better. The teep body kicks were beautiful. I think that shut him down and slowed him down a lot. Mixed in some leg kicks, pretty heavy leg kicks. John's not a one-punch knockout artist, but his striking is beautiful. He showed that throughout. He maybe only took a couple of big hits. We know his defense is really good, so he avoided punches. He hit him a lot. His kicks were great. His head kicks were great. Leg kicks were great. He was great on the ground. Like it's just John Jones. He's too much to overcome. So maybe Stipe isn't prime Stipe, but I think there's still a lot of heavyweights that Stipe would beat. John Jones is not one of them.
No. It's because he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
He is the GOAT, man.
He's the GOAT. That dude, that wheel kick, it sounded like a freaking gunshot.
Oh my God.
Now, I did see that Stipe did not break his ribs. I don't know how.
Oh, did they say that? Did they say he didn't break his ribs?
Yeah, like his trainer said that there was no broken ribs. I don't know if there's a ruptured spleen or something like that, but that was brutal.
Was his spleen ruptured? Is that what they said?
No. I don't know if there was, but said there was no structural damage with his ribs, which was sort of the big conversation. Like, did he break multiple ribs? But that was a just perfectly placed wheel kick right in his midsection, dropped straight down. He had no chance after that. Stipe was like, fuck this. It's over. I don't want to fight anymore. And then he retired after that. Salute, sayonara to a absolute GOAT of the heavyweight division. One of the best.
I'll be frank with you, man. I'm a big I like Stipe, but I never really liked Stipe as the champion. Like he just always came across like I could give a shit. I mean, he's a firefighter by day. He's I just
He's a
his
family
personality.
man.
His
He's
personality.
kind of
to me-
boring. He's a little
Yeah.
boring.
I
But
think he
was
just doesn't
great.
care about
He was
fame.
great. He was great.
Yeah.
You know, like there's nothing you could say about his
Right.
dominance.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
that division for years and years and years. And here's the other part of it that made him even more boring. He was not active. Very inactive by the remaining years of his career. Maybe
Did
once a year, and then he took a better part of 4 years off before he fought John Jones.
Do you guys believe the narrative that Dana White has put out there that Stipe is the best heavyweight, was the best heavyweight of all time? Or do your eyes deceive you a little bit, right? Like, because I've never
right
thought
now,
he was
like,
that.
okay, accolades wise, yes.
Yeah,
Eye test, no.
agreed.
Eye test, absolutely not. Francis Ngannou when he fought was better. John Jones clearly
Randy Couture.
like, you know,
Right.
eye test.
I mean,
no.
Cain Velasquez, I think, was a better heavyweight than
Yeah, Kane.
Yeah, but like
Kane's
again,
done
eye
it.
test, no, but like accolades and title defenses
Right.
and being at the top of that division for so long, yes. Like
That
you
always
give
felt-
him credit for that.
always
Automatic
felt-
Hall of Famer.
it always felt like a narrative that was meant to promote Stipe's fights instead of the actual truth of the matter. When you hear somebody say John Jones is the GOAT, it's like,
No
yeah,
argument. Yeah.
yeah, there's like zero argument that John Jones is the greatest combat artist of all time. Like, no
All
matter
right,
what.
Kenny, what are we
Yeah.
supposed to apologize for?
Yeah, let's get to this.
Yeah,
I need to
well,
know.
and that's where, so we got to get to this because pre-fight he was talking, post-fight he was talking. Dana White came in and talked about what's next for John Jones, and John had been saying, you know, if I don't get what I want, I could go ahead and I could walk away at any point. Like, there were narratives coming out that this is probably going to be John Jones's last fight in the UFC, that he's probably going to hang it up. He came out and he said in the pre-fight, he said, listen, if I don't get Alex Pereira, I'll just walk away. Right. Like, he said it multiple times. He said, the greatest benefit I have as a negotiator is the fact that I'm willing to walk away. I don't need this. Right. He talked about specifically Tom Aspinall and said, I don't want to fight Tom Aspinall because I don't like Tom Aspinall. I said last week, and this is where the apology is needed from you guys, because my statement was backed up fully by Dana White and by John Jones in his statements. He doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall because Tom Aspinall is as dangerous of a fight for him as Alex Pereira, and he's could potentially get his ass kicked, and it means nothing for him. Like,
Yeah,
why would I fight?
see, this is where you lose me. Your statement was that Tom Aspinall would wipe the floor with John Jones.
Yeah, and your original
no.
statement, if I remember correctly, is
Yeah.
he doesn't want to fight him because he's scared of him.
Yeah,
And that is not true.
that's
What is true is this is the statement that he put out before the fight. And I totally 100% agree with this sentiment at this point in his career. He says, I don't want to fight a dangerous up-and-coming guy. I'd rather fight the dangerous proven champion at this point.
The
Because
guy who's fought
Tom
at
Aspinall, here's what happens, right?
two weight
The career
classes
arc of
below.
Tom Aspinall, once he loses to John Jones, we saw it with, Dominic Reyes, and just name your fighter, the up-and-coming guy who gave him a push, Gustafson. I don't know all these guys. They end up losing to John Jones, then they sort of flail around in the heavyweight rankings for a couple of years, and then they're never really the same. So, like, if he beats Alex Pereira, that's like on his record for all time. Alex Pereira is already one of the best fighters of all time. He already is. I know he hasn't been in for a long time, but he absolutely is. 2 belts, moving around, some of the best knockout power we've ever seen. Like, if he fights Alex Pereira, that's a fight that in 10, 20 years you look back at and he said he beat prime Alex Pereira.
yeah.
If
If
I'm
he
looking-
beats Tom Aspinall and then Tom Aspinall sort of kicks around, like that doesn't mean shit. It means nothing.
The problem is that Tom Aspinall is also the interim heavyweight champion right now.
That's the only issue. That's the only issue. But John is not going to be some active champion, and I think that's kind of where that argument falls apart. Because I get it. I'm all for, like, look, if there's an interim and there's a undisputed champion, the belt's got to be unified. I'm all over that. I'm 100% vouching for that. But it's different in this situation because you don't have someone who's about to sit here and run through this division and defend this belt a bunch of times. John Jones is in the twilight of his career where he might have 1 or 2 more. And those are about legacy defining spectacle fights. And Tom Aspinall at this point in his career is not that. I think he's very good.
You don't think he's that? Did you not hear? You didn't hear the reception. Dana White came out and said. Dana White came out.
Well, he's a baby face. He's the baby face
of all time.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, Tom Aspinall's the baby face to the heel that John Jones is. Like people don't like John Jones. And like people respect him as the GOAT, but people don't like him.
Yeah.
Not a likable character after all he's been through in his career.
And
this
reminds
me of like when Floyd Mayweather kept getting in the ring and everybody's like, oh, Julio Cesar Chavez. Yeah, this guy's good. He's got a chance. Arturo Gotti. Yep. Oh, undefeated, man. He's got a chance to get in there and go. You just kept going through these names and everybody kept rooting for the other guy because they were tired of Floyd's bullshit and how he fought and that he's been the GOAT for so long. That's what Tom Aspinall reminds me of. It's like everybody's hyping this guy up because, maybe he has the best chance to beat John Jones. He still won't beat John Jones if they get in the ring.
Yeah, because here's the biggest thing.
No one can.
The biggest thing in that argument as far as like Tom's really popular right now because of this. And definitely in Europe, he's very popular because he's an English fighter. But here's the thing. Say John fought Tom, beat Tom. Tom's irrelevant after that. Kind of like Gabe said, goes up and down, wins a couple, loses a couple. Nobody remembers that John Jones ever fought Tom Aspinall. Just like Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes was supposed to be like the next guy. And now he sucks. Like he's terrible. And nobody talks about John beating Dominic Reyes because Dominic Reyes has been terrible since. If he beats Alex Pereira, that lives on forever because of who Alex Pereira is and what he's done so far in the UFC.
So you know why nobody talks about John Jones beating Dominic Reyes? Because most people think Dominic Reyes beat John Jones.
Okay, but regardless of that doesn't matter. Yes, I watched it. I know it was a close fight. But Dominic Reyes has never done anything after that. So It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant that fight was close or that John beat him or didn't beat him because Dominic's irrelevant. But Alex Pereira will never, in the sport of UFC, even if he loses every fight from here on out, be irrelevant. But Tom Aspinall could be irrelevant.
It reminds me of the waning years of the career of Floyd Mayweather Jr., where it's Pacquiao and Canelo, and everybody's like, oh, he's finally going to lose. No, he's not. He's not going to do it. You're just hyping this guy up because you think he could. You're making it into more than it is. You're making it more of it than you need to because you want to see that one guy go down.
Yeah. No, I don't. No, here's my prediction. If John Jones fights Tom Aspinall, he will beat Tom Aspinall. That's what I think. But I think that Tom Aspinall is a more dangerous fight for him because of his size, his speed, his power, all those things than Alex Pereira.
There's no argument
Alex Pereira has been starched.
I can agree with
Alex Pereira got starched at 185 by Izzy. Like he got starched by him.
And then knocked him out twice after that. He knocked him out twice. Too. You can't.
No, he did knock him out. Absolutely. But I'm just saying, even Dana White said it in the post fight. He goes, what this fight showed me against Stipe is I will never make the Alex Pereira fight. He's too big.
You're going to let your biggest draw walk away from the fight game. He's going to walk away from the promotion and retire.
But that
to me is a Dana empty threat because Dana feels he owns world. That's one of those Dana empty threats.
No, but
if Dana wants John Jones in the ring, which he should because he'll make a shitload of money, he puts Alex Pereira in there. He gives him what he wants for the last couple of fights of his career.
And the quote that Kenny said was not the full quote because he did say that after that. Well, if they kept bugging me, both of them kept hounding me over and over again, then I would consider making the fight.
Yeah, but that's what as a fight fan, he's seeing it and he's saying that Alex Pereira's size will be a detriment to Alex Pereira in this fight.
That's stupid. That makes no sense. Wait, time out. That makes no sense. John said he was 237 pounds. Alex Pereira weighs 235 pounds. They're the same size.
Doesn't fight at it. It's never fought at it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Thing, man, like, me personally, you want my honest opinion? I would rather see John Jones and Alex Pereira fight.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
because
honest
of the spectacle of it.
Yeah, of course. Because it's a crazy fight. It's a crazy fight. And again, and I'll say this.
I'll remember where I was when I watched that fight. If I watch John Jones beat Tom Aspinall, it's just like normal. Who gives a shit? I've seen this before.
And that's my point. That's the reason why I think John is wanting the Alex fight over Tom Aspinall because of that very reason, because it is a fight that will not do anything for his legacy, even though I do feel like his legacy is set. No matter what happens in any fight he has,
of
it's
course.
set. Like, that doesn't change.
Of course.
But
it's just like Brady winning the 7th ring. It's just lapping the competition again.
Right. I just think that he is a very strategic thinker when it comes to how he wants to fight. Let's not forget, this is the very same guy who there's one opponent that makes me go from his past that makes me think that the reason why John is thinking the way he's thinking about this fight with Alex Pereira is because of the way he treated Chael Sonnen. He came out and he said, I don't want to fight Tom Aspinall because of his fans, because of how he's an asshole. Dude, you fought Chael Sonnen. Like, you fought him after spending time at the Ultimate Fighter where y'all were going at it with each other, where he was talking shit about you nonstop. You fought him anyway.
Different John, different time.
It's a different time.
And let's not
totally
forget,
different situation.
this is also the same John who has the same coach who wouldn't let John Jones fight Chael Sonnen after
on short notice.
On short notice, because he wasn't prepared for him.
That's smart.
It is smart, but this is the way that he thinks.
Yeah, he thinks
about these things.
He's very strategic.
And this is why I think he wants to fight Pereira over Aspinall, because he knows that Aspinall is the much more dangerous fight in terms of.
He admitted that.
I think he thinks he can beat Alex Pereira much easier than Tom Aspinall.
But again, back to why we would be apologizing. That's not the main reason he's not fighting. Maybe it's a contributing reason. I honestly, seriously doubt that. I don't think John Jones scared of shit. I don't think he's scared of Tom Aspinall.
Nobody says
like,
he's scared.
I don't think you
did say
I
you're
don't
scared.
think that being the more dangerous fight is the reason he's opting out of wanting to fight Tom Aspinall right now.
I think that
because Alex Pereira is plenty dangerous on his own. Like,
I think that plays and
it's more of a legacy fight. Yeah. It just makes more sense. So and I hope Dana comes to his senses, because fight fans, I know that they're kind of fickle right now about the Tom Aspinall thing, but they should want that fight.
They didn't seem fickle to me. They didn't seem fickle to me. They didn't seem fickle at all to me. We want Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. That's what the crowd, that's what everybody wanted.
Why would you not want Pereira versus Jones?
I agree. I don't understand
I don't understand that. That's where I say they're fickle.
Can I just say this? It sounds like to me I'm not going to get an apology from either one of you.
No shot.
No, absolutely not.
Let's move it on.
All right. So I just want to see John Jones fight. That's all I care about.
Me too.
All right. Let's get to some college football, a topic that will not cause as much insanity between the three of us. I have a question for you guys. We talked about this Georgia-Tennessee game as the game to watch this week, and that it was an elimination game for Georgia, really. If they lost to Tennessee, that it was going to be pretty much curtains for them in terms of the college football playoffs. They ended up beating Tennessee. Did Georgia save their season?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. They're right back in the thick of things now. More than likely, they will make the college football playoff, and we'll see about the SEC championship, because that's absolute madness.
If all favorites win, it'll be Texas, Alabama.
Yeah,
in the SEC championship.
Yeah, so Georgia definitely saved their season. Carson Beck played well in this game. Georgia's offensive line played well in this game. It did not look like the same Georgia team that went to Oxford and lost to Ole Miss. They didn't allow a single sack. They only allowed 2 tackles for loss. They were pressing early in the game, just trying to get a big play. And they finally hit one to Dominic Lovett, and that kind of sparked the entire offense, because up to that point, I think Carson Beck was like 6 of 13 for 35 yards, and they had gotten, I think, 2 first downs in the game. So that sparked him, and he went on a roll after that, and Tennessee scored 0 points in the second half. So, yeah, Georgia saved their season. They're back, and if you don't think they're a title contender, then you're pretty insane.
And they got after Nico too. They abused that Tennessee offensive line. And I have to give a shout out, man, because this guy's going to be a very interesting NFL prospect. Jalen Walker, number 11. He can play off-ball linebacker. He can line up on the edge. He ain't Micah Parsons as far as twitchiness and, ability. But damn, man, he's a good player. And he's versatile. He's going to be a very interesting one to watch. He had 2 sacks in this game. But Carson Beck getting back to normal, like, I don't know about you, Christian, but even though he had played like shit and that whole offense had played like shit, I never lost that confidence in the back of my mind that they could play like this.
Yeah.
They could take care of the football. that he could deliver the ball on target and on time. And Mike Bobo could open it up a little bit more for him. And that's what Mike Bobo did. Mike Bobo back up against the wall. He could have
called a great game.
This went bad. He called a great game. And here's the biggest thing that I had talked about all year, and it finally showed itself. Between Lawson Lucky, Ben Urasek, and Oscar Delp, Georgia probably has the best tight end room in the country.
Yeah,
in the country. A lot. These are all three probably NFL draft prospects. Lawson Lucky just has had the best year out of all three of them. They finally remembered that they exist.
Yeah, they used
10 of the 25 completions were to those guys, both the touchdowns to Oscar Delp.
Yeah.
It's like you finally realized, oh shit, we have something that no one else has. A ridiculous amount of tight ends that can catch the football and run with it. So like they finally figured that out. Now, can I bring something up with you that I'm curious your thoughts about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
The SEC bias conversation. Where are you at on that? Because I think this year in particular, Big 10, ACC, Big 12 fans are crying wolf.
Yeah.
I think it is the biggest charade bullshit to just claim SEC bias all the time. They see a bunch of these 2-loss teams in the SEC, and they're just assuming, oh, they're having a down year. No, I think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
I think that Ole Miss, Texas, Tennessee,
Georgia,
South
Bama.
Carolina, all these teams have caught up.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that Alabama's substantially worse. It doesn't mean that Georgia's substantially worse. It just means that there's more competition in this conference.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed with this conversation because this started last week, and ironically, 4 of the top 5 teams were from the Big 10. And I don't think they deserve those spots. Penn State, Indiana. I love Indiana. They shouldn't be as high as they are. They shouldn't be that high up. They haven't beaten anybody.
Yeah, it's aggravating because it's flipped very like 180-degree turn, because it used to always, everybody kind of consensus was like SEC is the best. Like, we're not going to argue about SEC teams being good. And over the last couple of years, you've seen it turn away from that because of the success of Ohio State and Michigan and Oregon and some of these other teams. But I think everyone in the back of their head still knows the SEC is far superior to any of these other conferences, and it's just gotten a little bit out of hand and out of control, because you legitimately could go, okay, South Carolina, LSU, Missouri, if they're fully healthy, they go in the Big 10 and Big 12 and beat pretty much every team in there outside of maybe the top one.
Outside Ohio State and Oregon, maybe Penn State.
Yeah, they are better than every school in those conferences outside of the top dogs.
But to be fair, that's not how we decide these things.
No,
we decide them on the field. But here's my problem: is we have to take metrics into consideration at some point.
Strength of schedule,
right? Strength of schedule.
25 teams.
Georgia. Let's go. Georgia, Bama, Tennessee, Ole Miss. Every team but Texas. And I don't think Texas should have been number 3 in the college football playoff poll.
Agreed.
That's stupid. That's really dumb. But strength of schedule: Georgia 1, Alabama 16, Tennessee 18, Ole Miss 29. There is not another team in the college football playoff that is contender wise that has anything higher than that that's non-SEC.
Yeah.
Oregon's 43rd, Ohio State's 28th, Penn State's 35th. Indiana's 106th. Yeah. BYU's 53rd. Notre Dame is 82nd. Boise State 76th. SMU 86th. Colorado 73rd. And then when you go to strength of record for those 4 teams in particular, they're all in the top 12 in strength of record.
Right.
Meaning they are probably part of the top 12 in the country.
Right.
Well, Georgia's number 2, Alabama's number 7, Tennessee's number 10, Ole Miss is number 12. Just because you have more cannibalism within a conference doesn't mean that teams have taken a step back. Maybe it means that teams that were fighting for that spot, Ole Miss, Tennessee, have actually taken steps forward.
Yeah. And
made that conference even stronger top to bottom.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. And then people will always reference all the losses they've taken, like Vandy lost to Georgia State and Auburn lost to Cal. Well, let's tell the whole story, because the out-of-conference record for SEC teams was 48-8, by far the best record of any conference in the out-of-conference, and their record against Power 4 opponents 10-5, by far the best record in the Power 4 or of any conference. So, like, at some point, you got to tell the truth and stop being disingenuous.
Yeah,
tell the full truth. The SEC bias is there, but it is warranted. It's not like be slanting toward SEC teams because they are good and they play tough schedules and they win tough games. And also, here's another point I want to make. Is the NFL biased toward the SEC? Because 40% of the players that are drafted every year into the NFL are from the SEC. So you're telling me the NFL's biased? I don't think it's that crazy to say the teams with the most, or the conference with the most NFL caliber talent is the best conference.
Conference.
That it's not. It shouldn't be that outlandish of a take.
It's not a stretch. Not a stretch by any means.
So I'm tired of this conversation. I really am.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. All right, Kenny.
All right, let's get to the NFL for a few minutes. We had a couple of pretty big showdowns, kind of historic, showdowns between teams that have played each other for years and years and years. Steelers played the Ravens. Chiefs played the Bills. Bills ultimately came out on top, gave Kansas City their first loss. They're 9-1 on the season now.
First loss since Christmas of last year.
Crazy. The Steelers, the Ravens went to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh beat the Ravens. What's the more impressive win to y'all? Steelers versus Ravens or the Bills versus Chiefs?
I got to go Chiefs Bills on this one. And obviously, the playoff games between the Chiefs and Bills don't tell the whole story. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have had some great battles over the years. But I will say Buffalo had a lot of turnover this offseason. The defense was gutted. You lose Tre'Davious White, you lose Matt Milano. Again, you lose the safety duo that's been so great for them in Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. And they just lost a lot on this defense. And then offensively, you trade away Stephon Diggs. And who's going to be the guy in the receiving core? Nobody knows. There was a big question mark coming into the year. And so for them to beat Kansas City, who, they haven't looked perfect this year. Outside of their record, they hadn't looked perfect this year. Had their issues offensively, had some really close games. It took a blocked field goal to beat the Broncos, but it was just like, are they ever going to not find a way to win a game? And so for Buffalo to really, they didn't dominate that game, but it felt like they were in control the entire game. And it never felt like Buffalo's going to find a way to lose this game. It always kind of felt like they were one step ahead of Kansas City. They were kind of pacing the game and staying ahead. And so that's a huge win for them because we know that's been one of those rivalries over the past couple of years. And I say that's more impressive because Steelers-Ravens, I heard this today, since Harbaugh and Tomlin have been the head coaches, so since 2008 when Harbaugh came to Baltimore, do you know what the average margin of victory has been in those games? 0.3. I don't even know how that's possible. I don't even know how that's possible. Maybe that was wrong, but I heard that stat today.
Right.
It doesn't. But okay, yeah, it does. Yeah, it does because you go back and forth. Other teams win. Okay, that makes sense now. But 0.3 is the average margin of victory in the Steelers and Ravens games over the last 16 years.
That's
so it's
crazy.
pretty insane.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
So they're always going to play tight. Doesn't matter who's better than the other team against other teams that they play. It doesn't matter who the quarterback's been. We've seen Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges and Tyler Huntley and all kind of different quarterbacks over the last several years. Kenny Pickett, it's just always going to be a close game. So to me, it's not impressive. Also, they don't even score a touchdown. 6 field goals wins in the game. The Steelers are going to go as far as their defense can take them, and we know that. And it's a divisional game, so both are impressive. The Steelers got to be taken seriously moving forward. But it's hard to say the Bills win over the Chiefs wasn't a little bit more impressive.
Well, the more impressive one to me is Bills versus Chiefs, but I obviously have a little more context that I want to bring into this.
Yep.
The reason the Bills beating the Chiefs is more impressive is Patrick Mahomes actually had hit his stride coming into this game. He started playing well. He had the Travis Kelce connection and DeAndre Hopkins connection going. He has 5 250-plus yard games so far this year. 3 of them were the 3 games leading in to the Bills game. He had 6 touchdowns, 1 interception in that period, which had finally gotten him more touchdowns than interceptions. Previously, he had more interceptions than touchdowns. So Patrick Mahomes had hit his stride. They're undefeated. They want to stay undefeated. And the Buffalo Bills defense kept everything in front of them. did a pretty good job of stopping the run. They did some things that are replicatable by the time they get to the playoffs. And we thought this was going to be a massive fall-off year for them because you mentioned all the injuries, Matt Milano before the season, all these things. They have found a way. They found this formula that works for them in a big way. And Josh Allen's playing a little bit of hero ball, but he has found a way to spread the ball out to a little bit more than we expected. Like Khalil Shakir has 600 yards so far this year. Amari Cooper's actually been playing relatively well since he got in a Bills uniform.
Keon Coleman was rolling before.
Yeah, Keon Coleman, had been playing well. So like this team's just doing some replicatable nice things. They're running the ball relatively well. They're finishing drives. I'm just fully impressed with what they're doing.
Joe Brady deserves a lot of credit.
Well, and also they force you to make mistakes. They're a bend don't break defense for sure.
Yep. Yeah.
And what happened? You got 2 picks from Patrick Mahomes, including the final sealed up one by Terrell Bernard. So like I'm just impressed there. And the other part about I think the context you have to bring around the Steelers beating the Ravens is they do that all the time.
Yeah. Even when
he's 1-4 against the Steelers.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is. And when you there's 2 teams that are his kryptonite. The Chiefs and the Steelers. He's a combined 2-9 versus those 2 teams. 57% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 74.2 passer rating. Against all other 30 teams, 65-18, 66% completion percentage, 174 touchdowns to 43 interceptions, and 102 passer rating.
Yeah.
So those 2 teams have always given them trouble because they have really good defenses. They know how to make Lamar have to play hero ball and beat them. They don't let you run the ball very well. And I think also the Ravens in both those matchups against those 2 teams, they always forget their identity. They forget to run the ball. Yeah. They forget to do it. Like this game against the Steelers bothered the hell out of me because you're just sitting there and you weren't facing a massive deficit at all the entire game, and you just forgot Derrick Henry existed. You gave him 13 rushes, and he did well.
Todd Monken tends to do that.
Yeah, 13 for 65. They just sort of forget. Like those 2 teams find a way to get that offense out of sorts. Play calling, Lamar, they maybe turn you over a couple times to get your head going a little bit, and then you just sort of forget where you are and make mistake after mistake. But that's why that one's not as impressive. It's because Lamar and the Ravens have not been very good against the Steelers lately.
Yeah, completely agree. All right, boys.
Hold on. I got a point of personal privilege here. I'm gonna go hot 3+1 tonight.
All right.
But I do have to say this before we get into the final topic. Memphis basketball was picked second in the AAC in the preseason to Andy Kennedy and the UAB Blazers.
Yep.
UAB was picked to win the regular season AAC conference title. They've kind of struggled this year. They've come out, they're 2-2 on the season. Lost to High Point in their last game. Okay. But they got it all together tonight, though. Auburn has come to town to Birmingham, and they're beating them.
No, don't do that. Not
109 to 63 tonight. Auburn. Let me check the box. Oh, wait. Auburn Montgomery. My bad. My bad. Auburn Montgomery. Not the University of
hell yeah.
Auburn,
I was gonna say they beat the number 4 team in the country by that margin. They're up and up. AAC is dope this year.
The Gulf South Conference's own Division II Auburn Montgomery has come to town, and UAB has turned their season around and are now absolutely the favorites to win the AAC.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
Unless you're in like one of those really, really bad basketball one bid, and maybe the AAC is kind of a one bid league, but historically it hasn't been that bad. Unless you're in like the fucking Patriot League, don't play any D2 teams out of conference.
UAB?
What the hell are you doing? That should be an exhibition game. That shouldn't count toward your overall record. That's bullshit.
Meanwhile, Memphis has played Missouri, UNLV on the road. They played Ohio.
In the preseason MAC favorite.
The preseason West Coast Conference favorite in San Francisco. They're going to San Francisco to play them on Friday. Congratulations to Penny Hardaway for giving them to actually play teams.
Memphis literally has more top 100 wins through 3 games than the entire conference does.
Right.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
That is sad as hell.
I just want to say big shout
big shout out to Andy Kennedy for getting it back on the right track, man. I'm happy for them. I hope they do really well. Anyway, last topic for the night. This is a point of personal privilege for me because I can't stand this dude. And Gabe posted about this on Twitter. That's not the right one. Hold on.
Close enough.
Draymond Green
Close
breaks the code. Guys, I want to preface this by saying I would absolutely have Draymond Green on the Grizzlies if we could. Like when he was in his prime, when he was even a few years ago when it was talked about him possibly coming.
They offered it 3 years, 105 or whatever, 100.
I would have been like, hell yeah, bring him over here. But this MFer took in the game against Golden State, Zach Edey picked up a loose ball and he threw it up the court and started taking off, and Draymond Green was underneath his feet and hooked his legs and tripped him to the ground. Is this not like, I am just, it harkens back to that playoff series when Dylan Brooks took Gary Payton Jr. out of the air and all you heard was this bitching and moaning about the code. And yet you've got this guy on your team who that is what if you look at his highlight package, we had people Golden State fans coming into our comments this week going, the Grizzlies were doing the same thing. No, they weren't.
No. Even Dylan Brooks' foul on Gary Payton II in that playoff series was incidental.
Right.
It was a hard foul that ended badly. Like Draymond kicks people in the nuts purposefully, holds their ankles, does an ankle lock, steps on people's chest, does it purposefully. It's not incidental at all.
Yeah, did Draymond?
I don't know what's more annoying though, is the Draymond's actions or Warriors fans and coaching staff and media members just ready to excuse it every time.
Standing for this dude all the time.
Never once hold him accountable for it. I'll say this to Warriors fans, media, the coaches, everybody in that organization. You're part of the problem, man.
Yes.
Draymond is the problem, but you're definitely letting that problem go completely unchallenged. You let him do this. You are a problem as well.
There never was a video of Dylan Brooks sucker punching and assaulting a teammate in practice that dropped.
Never.
Right? Fair. Assaulting Jordan Poole changed Jordan Poole's life, honestly. And I'll be frank with you, I don't think he's ever been the same since. I'll be frank with you. There wasn't any long-term injury there, but it definitely shook some confidence points out of Jordan Poole. It wrecked him. But it just drives me crazy, man, because there's this media darling idea about the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry being the guy that he is, and everybody loves Steph Curry and Steve Kerr, and he gets up there and he pounds the table about the future of this country and all this kind of stuff and whatever. But you got a guy on your team who legitimately tries to injure people on a constant basis, and it is aggravating, and it is this idea of the code. It just it pisses me off.
But watching Warriors fans comment on Twitter oh, he didn't mean to do that, it was just incidental. Are you shitting me? His arm went from here to trap Zach Edey's leg under his arm. It was very clearly what he was trying to do.
A 7'4", 310-pound man fell. Have you guys ever been running as a kid and tripped on pavement and just face planted? That's what happened in that game. The guy's 7'4", 310 pounds. He could have done damage not only to Zach Edey, but to the FedEx Forum's floor. It could have damaged the floor.
I don't even think it was that egregious compared to other things that Draymond Green has done. But he's a repeat offender of this shit all the time. You should suspend him for games at a time when he does shit like this.
Do you know that
you have to send a message, man?
I looked this up when I was arguing with Golden State fans this week. Do you know that Draymond Green has been top 4 in technical fouls in the NBA since 2014?
Well, of course he has. What really pisses me off, though, more than anything, too, is the fact that they called it a transition take foul and then change it to a flagrant after the game.
Upgraded after the game. Yeah.
You felt that's another thing. I bring up the fans and the media and the coaching staff. The refs, the freaking referees allow it.
Can't stand it.
They don't do anything to check it.
No.
Can't stand it.
They let him off the hook constantly.
All right, boys, let's wrap it up. Everybody, we appreciate you for joining us this week. If you're watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you can do the same there. Also, head over to bluffcitymedia.co. Check out all the articles, podcasts, and videos on the site. Once again, we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.